Fair Charge launches Little Book of EV Myths to tackle electric vehicle misinformation. Fair Charge, supported by the RAC, has published the Little Book of EV Myths, which tackles 21 examples of electric vehicle misinformation. So that's available to download for free. We'll do that and then we'll go to it. We'll open the Little Books of EV Myths. Here we go. The Little Book of EV Myths. There are more myths around electric cars than Elvis Presley. That's the way it feels anyway. Everything from EVs pollute more than petrol cars, the batteries fail after 3 years, the electricity grid won't cope, they catch fire more than combustion engines, and that hydrogen, not batteries, is the future. There's even a new collective noun for all these myths. Misinfo. Electric. Oh wow. Well, isn't that... How many of you did it take to think that one up? Electric cars may not be for everybody, but with so many now on our roads, the technology works and has proved reliable for 1 million UK owners who drive EVs every day. Many of the current EV myths have taken root on social media because of a lack of proper understanding. You need educating. You need these people to educate you because you don't understand. You don't understand that EV depreciation is catastrophic, that you can't afford it, that if you buy one, it actually costs you more to run than a diesel or a petrol. That's what you can't understand. So these people want to educate you. Many people also see EVs as a threat to their freedoms, and there are plenty of very well-funded vested interests who want us to carry on burning fossil fuels. But EVs have also become politicised, a very public four-wheeled symbol of your personal politics. Yes, they have. Because the people who have an EV attack everybody else. They're like maniacs, both in the UK and the USA. In the USA, it's even worse. To be fair, in the USA, it seems like it's gone a bit too far. There's a cultural war over electric cars, with political parties using them as a wedge issue to divide voters between left and right. Electric cars will be the biggest energy disruptor of this century, so we shouldn't be surprised why so many dislike the idea of such a profound transition. This book is meant to settle some of the arguments. We've gathered together some of the most embedded EV myths and used factual and data to set the record straight once and for all. EVs have been on our roads for over a decade now, with billions of battery-only miles already travelled, so there's plenty of real-world data available. So if you want to check out the myths, misinformation and general moonshine that's been written, posted and broadcast about electric cars, this book should make a useful guide. The first one, EVs are more expensive than combustion cars. This is certainly true on many models, but the price difference is narrowing now. A combination of anti-EV stories in the media, the government's U-turn on the 2030 sales deadline, and record high interest rates have dampened retail demand so much that manufacturers are discounting prices on new EVs by as much as 15%. According to research by Autotrader in November 2023, the once £20,000 price premium between a new Tesla Model 3 and a petrol BMW 3 Series has narrowed to just £950 between the base models. Tesla have cut their prices and BMW have raised theirs. Okay, why do you think those things aren't affecting petrol cars? Why do you think petrol cars haven't depreciated? Why do you think EVs are now cheaper second hand for the same vehicle when it costs, say, £15,000 new? Or 15%, we'll say 15%. Why do you think EVs are now worth less than an equivalent petrol car? Is it because record high interest rates? Why has that only dampened demand on EVs? It's a conundrum, isn't it? Autotrader also report that electric cars are now the fastest selling fuel type on their site, selling in 25 days compared to 31 days for combustion cars. In February 2024, the SMMT reported that sales of used battery electric vehicles almost doubled, up by 90%. In 2024, market research firm Gartner said that by 2027, EVs will be on average cheaper to produce than combustion cars due to lower production costs. Pedro Pacheco? No way, Pedro. Vice President of Research at Gartner said new technology means BEVs will reach ICE cost parity much faster than initially. Hey, Pedro, I've got news for you. They've already reached price parity and they're lower. Used ones are lower. EV batteries don't last well. We'll forget about that. EVs regularly catch fire. I did notice, where's it go? EVs pollute more than ICE cars. A persistent myth that EVs aren't green has grown up around pollution from battery mining and manufacture. Often in China where coal-fired electricity grids power cars and battery factories, but research by the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, has shown that when driven in Europe, we are in Europe, yeah, we're not in the EU, an EV will pay off its carbon debt after around 11,000 miles, after which the full cycle CO2 emissions are around 3 times lower than an average petrol car. A carbon brief analysis in 2023 showed that a Tesla Model Y driven in the UK would pay off its carbon debt after around 13,000 miles, less than 2 years driving. After 14 years of driving, the average petrol car has a carbon footprint of 45 tonnes of CO2. A Tesla Model Y driven over the same period in the UK would emit 14 tonnes of CO2, a saving of 68%. Transport and the Environment worked out that in its lifetime, the average combustion car burns a tower of oil barrels 25 stories high. Right, so Tesla's dropped 14 grand in 4 months and ICE cars didn't. You can actually offset your carbon footprint by buying trees or paying for trees to be planted. And I worked out with the money lost on an EV, I think you could drive, you could pay it off and you could pay all your mates' cars off as well and be in front. But here, this is the interesting thing. So around 13,000 miles. Even, this is in the little book of EV myths. However, they say 13,000 miles. But unfortunately, it would seem that all the EV shills haven't got the ducks in a row, because I saw various reports, and I've seen various reports, some say it takes as long as 9 years to become cleaner than the equivalent. It's dirtier to produce an EV to start off with. So your ICE car is here and your EV is behind when it's produced. It's a great argument. The more EVs that produce, the dirtier the air will be today. It has to be, doesn't it? So they keep producing more EVs and then somebody comes out with a report and saying, oh, the air's dirtier. Well, yeah, but if you hadn't produced all those EVs and you just produced ICE cars, it wouldn't be, would it? I've referred to this before. And Dr. Andy Palmer, who introduced the Nissan Leaf to the UK and so on, I asked him, he has replied before to me and liked, you know, when it's been in favour, he's liked tweets and so on. And I've asked him several times because I know that he will know, he has to know how long it takes for a Nissan Leaf to become carbon neutral or to become cleaner than a petrol. I can't see how he wouldn't know anyway. So I asked him and he's not replied. I've asked him time and time again, and I even tried, you know, the old penguin psychology. Look, Doc, if you don't reply, I'm going to assume the worst and that it's a lot more than these people say, because I actually quoted, here we go, look, come on, Doc, even if it's just for the Nissan Leaf, which you introduced, that would be a great help, as honestly, the other EV shills are just making themselves look foolish. Well, they are. There's Quentin there, smiling away. So we'll go to Quentin's report. Are EVs really clean? The idea that a combustion car could be more green than an EV is bizarrely embedded in the internet, fumes Quentin Wilson. It's widely known that manufacturing a combustion car is less carbon intensive than making an EV, though the latter's carbon footprint is declining as more green energy powers assembly plants and car makers reduce rare earths in batteries and electric motors. An EV's carbon debt takes a year and up to 17,000 miles to pay back, depending on the charging grid and how it's driven, explains Wilson. After that, it's in huge credit. So it takes a year and up to 17,000 miles. So what's that? So if you only do 2,000 miles in a year, does it pay it back? Nah. So that's wrong. And up to 17,000. So Quentin here thinks up to 17,000 miles. And he doesn't want anything embedded in the internet. We'll go to the next one. This is, oh, I've already read that. That's the fair charge. So they're thinking 13,000 miles. And then we go to Colin Walker, who's head of transport in the... I'm sorry, I honestly, I cannot help it. He's head of transport in the Climate Intelligence Unit. God, give me strength. Average age of car when it's scrapped, 14 years. Replacing an old petrol diesel car with a new EV would result in a net reduction in CO2 emissions after driving 20 to 32,000 miles. So we've now got 13, 17, 20 to 32,000 miles. I've seen studies from universities that put it a lot higher. But in the interest of not just getting comments in my videos saying, oh, you're an idiot, it's a lot less than that. Generally accepted is, say, 23,500. That's the least resistance. So I've used 23,500 miles in my calculations. So let's just go away from there. We'll go back to Safari. On Autotrader here, we'll just, let's see, have we got any, well, electric cars. There's 21,322 electric cars. Now I might need my pen for this. So we'll search them and then we're going to put a mileage in. So we'll put mileage in. Well, no, actually, so we've got 21,322 cars. That includes new and used vehicles. So those are the ones that have already been made. And this will be a drop in the ocean, by the way. Absolute drop in the ocean of what's actually out there. But it makes a good average, 21,000. You know, the RAC came up with a survey on 563 people that 90% of EV owners won't go back to an ICE, of 563 people. So this is 21,322. So kind of forgive me for this, will you? So here we go. We'll go mileage, put in mileage, 2. Now there's 25,000 there, so I'm going to put 20,000 miles. That's 15,738 cars, but with a bit of luck in the top here, in the top, if I go along, maximum mileage, click in there, and then 500, enter. So we've now got up to 23,500 miles. There's 16,600 that haven't done 23,000 miles. There we go. 16,600 divided by 21,322%, 77%. 77.85% of vehicles advertised for sale on Autotrader have not done 23,500 miles. More than 3/4 of them aren't greener than a petrol car. And they make more and more. They're not going to be greener either. The air's going to get worse. I mean, I'm not... Can you hear my throat? I've got a cough at the moment. I think I'm allergic to EVs. That's all it can be. I was all right before they started producing all these EVs. Of course, it may be that I've got hoarse making these videos and shouting. That could be it too. So 23,500. But also in this search, it's very, very interesting, because if you go into filter and then you go into make and model and you look at them, you'll see what? Look at that. 775 Audis haven't met the carbon neutral figure. 1,344 BMWs, 276 BYDs. When was the last time you saw a BYD on the road? Honest, I think I've seen one. And that was near the BYD dealership. They were on a test drive. So good for that, good doing a test drive. 333 Citroens, 166 Cupras, 40 Dacias, 55 an E-Cobra. Oh, for goodness sake. 352 Fiats, 8 Fiscas, 466 Fords, 221 Genesis, GWM Aura, fucking shits, or funky cats, or whatever they're called, 69, oh, fair enough. Honda 144, Hyundai 746, Jaguar 376. Go look, 660 Mercedes-Benz, 1,108 MGs, 870 Minis, 918 Peugeots, 381 Polestars, 587 Porsche, 386 Renaults. Tesla, 778. So there's fewer Teslas. Well done. There's fewer Teslas than any of the others, really. Vauxhall, 1,038. Volkswagen, 1,076. Volvo, 636. Oh, no, I don't want that. So we'll go down there. And then, you know, you can kind of drill down into, let's just see, what was the one we... MG. So we'll go into MG and then we'll click on, there you go, Cyberstar. Is that Cyberstar or Cyberster? 45. Let's just go into that. 45. Search 45 cars. Blimey, look at that. In stock. You know, I mean, I'd have one of them. I really would. You know, the whole situation is futile. You've got all these people banging on, fair charge, stop burning stuff. You've got them all banging on about the climate, and yet, what are they doing? It's just all lies. The government, they've got this select committee. The first thing the select committee, before anything else, before they do anything else, the first thing the select committee has to know is, when does an EV become cleaner than an ICE car? Because if there's 77% of vehicles out there, and this is just a small, this is just the ones for sale on Autotrader. There's 77% of vehicles out there that are dirtier than a petrol or diesel and are actually making our air today dirtier. How can that be right? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.